Benny's adventure team, assemble! Or not.
To this day, poor Benny is yet to find an adventurer's team. He calls for them to assemble, and sadly no one appears. Well, not today. I decided to help out our young adventurer to scout out some reasonable adventures. As a best team connoisseur for many years, I decided to bring my expertise over to this universe. Though I'm not gonna be building our boys' team with game mechanics in mind. This is going to be 100% based around lore. In scouting for teammates for this best boy, I'm going to be taking into consideration the chemistry they have with Bennett, how well they work together, and just their overall prowess as a character. Note that characters don't have to be 4-star or 5-star to be contenders, because as we know in lore, stars don't really mean anything. Just ask Beidou, Lisa, Ningguang, and the plethora of other 4-stars. But with that said, let's help our boy Bennett out. But first, before we begin though, if you enjoy Teyvat's Facts and Wisdom, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. After the video is over, join us over in our community Discord server, where we talk all about Genshin, including lore. Okay, with that said, let's open the Teyvattionary and see what's been uncovered. It's a fine day at the Adventurers Guild in Mondstadt, and Bennett is looking for a commission. He finds out there is a hilichurl camp near the beaches of Falcon Coast. Catherine begins to tell him that she doesn't think it's a good idea to go by himself. She explains that there is an uptick of hilichurls in this area, along with some strange activity going on in some ruins nearby to the camps. Bennett begins to think about what the suspicious activity could consist of, and thinks it could possibly be the Abyss, but is still unsure. With this information noted, he brushes off what Catherine says and states, "Nah, I can do it myself," with a fake and unsettling smile. He knows deep down that no one would want to join his adventurers team. As he leaves past the bridge, crossing out of Mondstadt with the beautiful Cider Lake underneath, he begins to hear wolves howling not too far from him. The wolves howling don't come off as just simply howling, however. They sound like troublesome howls. Bennett immediately thinks without hesitation that his close friend Razor could be in trouble. With that in mind, Bennett makes haste towards the wolf cries. Bennett runs rapidly towards Wolvendome and immediately sees Razor fending off wolves from the north. These wolves are really pushing the attack on Razor and his wolf pack. Running as fast as he can, Bennett screams, "Razor!" as he jumps into battle with his buffing abilities. Razor is healed up to a significant amount, but still has some wounds due to Bennett only being able to heal up to 70%. As Razor heals up, he thanks Bennett, and in perfect chemistry, him and Bennett begin slaying all the strange wolves. Within a few minutes, they're able to get the upper hand and finally drive the wolves back. Razor thanks Bennett for the help, but immediately asks him if he has food in his pouch. Bennett sighs but laughs at the same time as he reaches for an apple in his adventurer's bag. Razor is delighted. As Razor is happily eating, he asks why Bennett is in the area, and why he wasn't out adventuring like always. Bennett then begins to tell Razor that there is some strange hilichurl activity down near the beaches at Falcon Coast, and he was going to go investigate it. Razor asks, "By yourself?" Bennett is about to shake his head yes, until almost abruptly, Razor says he will tag along, and says Bennett is Razor's friend, and he just helped him. Not to mention also gave him a delicious apple. Bennett is really excited, as he loves adventuring with Razor whenever he can, so he decides to accept this help. To Bennett though, having Razor along is common, because they've done countless adventures before. Bennett still wants an awesome team to have, but having Razor is honestly a bonus to him because at least he has someone to tag along with. With a new ally in hand, Razor and Bennett begin to make their way over to the Falcon Coast again. But Bennett remembers that he and Razor still have slight injuries, and they should head over to the cathedral in Mondstadt to get healed. Razor is a little reluctant to this, however, because as we know, he is very shy when it comes to human interaction, so he decides to heal his wounds using some wolfhook berries. Benny tries to convince Razor, but ultimately he respects Razor's decision and decides to meet him outside of Wolvendome once he is done being healed. Razor has a moment though where he asks, why did Bennett not come to use Wolfix too? Bennett then blushes a little and says, I just like the cathedral, that's all. Razor, being oblivious, just shakes it off. But Bennett, deep down, knows the only reason he's going to the cathedral is because of Barbara. With that, they go their separate ways for now, and Bennett makes his way over to the cathedral. He sees Barbara casually reading some of her idol magazines, thinking of ways to improve herself as an idol, and just bringing happiness to others. As she is reading, Bennett comes up to her with his usual shy response, Hey, Barbara. Barbara stops her reading as she looks up at him and says, Bennett, again? As she says, you need to stop getting yourself into this kind of situation. Bennett then smiles with a really shy laugh. I know, but I really love helping people. And with my bad luck, I always seem to get into these unfortunate scenarios. Barbara smiles as she heals him, and eventually, Benny is back up to blast. She then asks about how he got his wounds in the first place. Bennett then begins to explain to Barbara about helping Razor against the Wolves of the North, and how he and Razor were heading to the Falcon Coast to investigate some strange hilichurl activity, along with some ruins as well. With that, Bennett says, well, time to move out. I'm gonna investigate this and make a difference, as he walks out with a huge smile on his face. He's just happy that he was able to see Barbara before he headed out. In a sense, he views her as an awesome good luck charm. As Bennett is walking out of the cathedral, Barbara stutters a bit with a wait, and a small blush on her face. I could go with you, so you can always have a healer. Bennett turns red himself and says, that would be awesome. Barbara smiles at Bennett, and they both leave the cathedral together to meet Razor at the designated meeting spot near Wolvendome. After meeting up, Razor, Bennett, and Barbara make their way over to the Falcon Coast. They finally make it there after a little expedition across Mondstadt. They climb atop a cliff as they see the dozens of hilichurl camps scattered across the coast. Bennett begins to think as to why they are camped up here like this, and what it is they could be doing here, because this definitely is unnatural, even for hilichurl standards. He then sees some abyss mages head down towards some cliff opening nearby. Razor then mutters, abyss, as he growls, and remembers what they had done to Andreas, his father figure. Bennett says, yeah, that's what I was afraid of. The moment they figure out this is the Abyss's handiwork, they hear a very familiar voice from not too far away, screaming, I am the Prinzessin! Bow before your ruler! Oz chimes in and also shouts out, behold the Prinzessin der, and I don't know how to pronounce that name, so we're just gonna keep it like that. Fischl shoots a stream of electro arrows as they bombard the first hilichurl base. Bennett says, well, looks like that's our opening. Benny's adventure team, move out. Benny and Razor immediately head to the front lines to greet Fischl as she keeps shooting. She then says as she keeps shooting, behold my repertoire, referring to the other three adventurers. The three shake it off as they know that's just how Fischl talks. Fischl is happy to see them though. Bennett and Razor begin to barrage through the hilichurls as he buffs him and Razor up. Oz flies in closer to join and greet them, and just before he is about to say hello, one of Fischl's arrows is about to hit an explosion container. Benny, seeing the arrow just as it's about to hit the container, says in his mind, not again, as he barely jumps out of the way. In doing this, Fischl takes a chunk of hilichurls out, including a few of her bases. Bennett is able to jump out of the way to a degree, but he is still pretty injured because of this. He is able to heal a chunk of his health back using his own ability, but is still finding himself weak. Barbara and Fischl rush over, and Fischl breaks character and says, Bennett, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. Bennett says, don't worry about it, this always happens. Barbara then starts healing him immediately and says, this is why I came. And then says, I want to protect you. Barbara begins realizing what she said out loud and blushes as she says, I'm here for the team too, obviously. Bennett just needs extra healing because he acts reckless. Fischl says, I'll be more careful next time too, and then immediately panics because she's still talking out of character. Bennett and the crew just laugh as Razor concentrates on what's happening ahead. He just comments, more coming. Bennett stands up quickly and asks what Fischl is doing here anyway. In her language, she essentially says the Adventurers Guild had a commission, and she came down here to take out the Hilichurls. She rushed out too fast though, and didn't realize Catherine's other information in regards to the ruins. Bennett also remembers that Catherine did tell him that someone already was at the Falcon Coast, but he was too tied up in his thoughts about creating his team. This mission was meant to be a team mission regardless, and luckily for Bennett, he had the perfect adventure team. As more Hilichurls run closer, Bennett looks to his team and says, "Benny's adventure team? Let's move out." All three of the combat adventurers then make their attack across the Hilichurl camps, working together perfectly. They have constant buffing and healing from Bennett and Barbara. Fischl begins to fire arrows more tactically at explosion barrels, and Razor slashes through, not letting any of them get in the way. Barbara is in the back healing everyone as they fight through the mob. Minichurls and Samachurls are also present and have shields out. Samachurls are casting spells, but Fischl is able to snipe them all out. Finally, as they make it closer to the ruins, there are two more Minichurls with two gigantic shields. With all their power together, the four of them combine their ultimates and make quick work of them, with all four of them being fully healed as Barbara swiftly heals everyone. The team had done it. They had made it through the army of Hilichurls. But just as expected, they see some abyss activity. As they enter the top side of this crevice, leading to some strange cave down below, Barbara makes the comment they should be careful. As she says that, Bennett says, "Nothing to worry about." But little did Bennett notice, he slips on some rocks and nearly falls in the ravine. As he is about to fall, the three of them grab Bennett and pull him up. Barbara then makes the comment, "See, it is better when you have people around you." Bennett smiles, and then looks down as they witness what the Abyss is doing. They are performing some kind of weird experiment on the Cryoregisfine, similarly to what they were doing with Andreas. But Bennett and the others can't seem to put their finger on whatever it is they are doing. As they are looking down, Razor is about to sneeze, and the rest of the group panics. Razor then sneezes as loud as he can, completely on accident, and one of the Abyss mages hears this. The Electro Mage teleports up and is about to attack Barbara, as she is the most vulnerable being a healer. Bennett sees this and rushes over to protect her. He uses his passion overload, and as he tries to deflect the blast, it explodes with a huge bit of overload energy that sends Bennett and Barbara flying back as he holds her in his arms. Razor and Fischl can't damage this mage due to it being electro. This blast is enough to knock Barbara out. Bennett panics and attempts to wake her up, but she is unresponsive. As he sets Barbara on the ground, he is seen steaming literally. Barbara casted her healing on him and her right before the blast. He then starts getting heated up with pyro energy and says, "Now it's my turn to protect you." With flawless sword techniques and dodging, he is able to take the Abyss Mage out with ease, while having the Vaporize elemental reaction around him. Immediately after he slays the Abyss Mage, he rushes over to Barbara to see if she's alright, and he notices she's just sleeping. He gets a sigh of huge relief. Razor looks down into the ravine, however, and states, "They're gone." The other two Abyssal Mages were gone, and all that was left was a Cryoregisfine lying on the ground. Fischl and Oz noticed something about the mage that attacked though. It had dropped a very strange looking book. In this book, there were many strange characters, and Oz says, what peculiar writing. I wonder if Miss Lisa would be able to decipher this. They pick up the book and begin to walk over to Bennett and Barbara. At this point, a little bit of time has passed. Barbara eventually wakes up, and she is found near a campfire with Bennett and Oz discussing what the book could be. Razor and Fischl greet Barbara as she wakes up, and she asks, "What happened?" Fischl and Razor explain to her that Bennett had saved her and unleashed a huge piece of pyro energy along with the Vaporize she had bestowed upon him. As they explain it to her and she sees Bennett talking to Oz, she begins to blush with a smile and says in her mind, "That reckless goof." Bennett sees that Barbara is awake though and asks if she's alright, and she smiles with a yes and a thank you for saving her. Bennett smiles and says, "It's what the leader of an adventurers team does." The rest of the team then enjoy themselves at the campfire as they eat dinner and tell fun stories. The next morning, Benny and crew make their way back to Mondstadt. Razor goes back to Wolvendome, but assures them to come get him anytime they need help. Fischl, Bennett, and Barbara all make their way to the library of the Knights of Favonius, and they greet Lisa. Lisa, excited to see them, asks what brings them to the library. Bennett then tells Lisa about how their adventure went, and about the book they found. He hands her the book and asks if she knew what it was. Lisa is intrigued by this, but at the same time, it looks familiar to her. She even knows some of the language in the book. She says she will look into this book and will tell them when she finds anything. As they begin to walk away, she starts reading the book a little, and she quietly says to herself as the text reads, "The Night Mother's power?" With that concludes Benny's adventurer team's exploration. What did you guys think of that? Do you guys want more of these? I know this is a bit different than you were probably expecting, but I love to get creative. If you want another one of these stories, let me know in the comments below on what character you want to get their own team. Also, I'm a huge supporter of Bennett and Barbara, but you let me know in the comments what you think of that. Anywho though, I'm gonna wrap this adventure up. Thanks for opening the Tevatchnary, and with that said, I will see you in the future for more Genshin Impact content, adventures, and lore.